I know a bunch of you guys are not enthused about reading books, but I'm going to tell you something that if you start reading a little bit every day, you're going to be a little bit more intelligent every day. Even I myself, who used to read a book a day, not doing it anymore. I'm just going to be chewing through books. Now, the book I got here is the original writing of the book called The Count of Monte Cristo. And I'm sure many of you guys have seen the movie, and you've heard before that books are way better than the movie, which it is. This particular book was spectacularly awesome to me. I saw the movie first. I didn't read the book until years later. But when that movie came out, I was pretty impressed by not just the back storyline. I had to read the original. And if you don't know the story of the Count of Monte Cristo, it's about this young man. His name is Edmond Dantes, and he's a young sailor, and he's coming up in the world. He's got a beautiful girlfriend. He wants to take care of his dad, who's, an old man. He's getting old and so on. But he's not a very high ranking person in society, so he grows up poor, like a lot of people in his age. But what happens is he gets betrayed severely by three people. And while he is on his one of his boats going and dropping off stuff, this is during the time that Napoleon Bonaparte was in exile in the island of Elba. And during this story, he's charged with taking a letter to Bonaparte, delivering it, and then going back. And then the storyline is that these three people saw him and wanted to set him up because they were political enemies of his father. So ended up did a jealousy and envious nature of people end up getting him getting accused falsely and then tricked into thinking he's good to go after he's like, look, I'm innocent. I can't read. I don't know what that letter said. It's nothing to do with me. And they're like, yeah, we believe you. And they sent him on his way. And then very shortly thereafter, he's arrested, put in jail, sentenced, and then sent to the island. And the island is a giant prison that no one has ever escaped from. So, what I gathered from the first portion of this book is that even back then, people still had the same evil tendencies of envy and jealousy over women and money and status that seems to be the prevailing thing here. So, I'm going to talk about the highlights of jealousy and of envy in this book. Salute, sir. And this happens to all of us. Every single one of us, if you have even a minimal amount of success, there are going to be people who are going to come after you the same way they came after the Count of Monte Cristo. But he really came through at the end. If you have seen this movie, it is an extraordinary movie. It is nothing like the book, but it is a great movie nonetheless. Okay. I made some notes and I'm going to read them to you. And this is just a quick synopsis of the jealousy involved because these people basically, well, Edmond Dantes in the very end of this book, he finds a way to use their greed and their selfishness and their lust against them in a way so that Edmond Dantes, who's now the Count of Monte Cristo, in full hiding in open space, basically because his character at the beginning, a young man sent off to prison to die, was not expecting to be released from that prison or escape from that prison, which he did. Fantastic story. If you have not heard this story, the jailer basically, when they put him in a body bag and threw him over off the cliff, he grabbed the other guy by the ankle and pulled him down with him and drowned him when he got free. So that was the first part of Edmond Dantes, his vengeance. This vengeance story is so good that if I could just listen and not get emotional when it comes to somebody who fucks with me, that's where I want to learn that if someone's going to fuck with me, I'm going to learn how to fuck them right back. But I want to do it in a way that this guy did because he has a lot of things going on that I got going on. And if you don't know that already, this guy started off like I did, poor, sick father, no mother, gets an opportunity to go in the military, goes in the military, does not die in the war. And so he's got a he went in the Navy, so he became a seaman and he was a maritimer and so on. So he got good at his job. People were actually signing him up first start of his first mate. Next thing he's going to be sailing his own ships pretty soon. He saved these people money. You know what I mean? He's trying to get out of the mess. But the three people who want vengeance or are jealous of him don't want to see him rise up. They want to see him stay the same. And a lot of people like me and a lot of people like you have family members that see that you're getting after, that see that you're making improvements, and the old stuff that they have about you that they can't accuse you any longer about, that just want to make fun of you, they just want to cause problems and so on. And this is the reason why. It's jealousy and envy. Two horrible human emotions. So let's get after it. I'm going to read this to you, and you tell me whether or not you think it's worth it. So the Count of Monte Cristo, this is jealousy and betrayal. It's all against this guy who is innocent, period, innocent. Now, I've been in a situation where I've been oblivious to people trying to hustle me, or I've been oblivious to people being rude to my face. But this situation here, Dantes, after he escapes death by, going into the ocean and so on, he ends up on an island. While he's on the island, there is a group of pirates. Perfect. Pirates are awesome because pirates are going to give him a ride, but they have one task for him before he leaves. They're like, wait, first of all, we have a guy over here, and he got caught stealing some gold on one of the raids, and he wanted to keep it to himself. He wasn't sharing. And so he says, so you, Mr. Edmond Dantes, have now the option of joining our crew and being on our team. And we're going to leave this guy to die on the island. So before we do that, we're going to go ahead and have a man-to-man contest. And you two are going to fight at it with knives. And by the way, this guy's pretty good with a knife. Edmond Dantes, who has been in prison for 20-something years, who has been trained by a dude like me, who's not going anywhere, learns how to fight, learns jiu-jitsu, learns knives, learns how to box. He comes out of there, he is a weapon because all he has to do all day is train. And now he has that guy who's teaching him stuff. But the wonderful thing is that old guy, before he leaves the prison, gives him a treasure map. He gives him the location of a giant fortune of treasure. Something to the tune of modern day billions of dollars. Like he basically became a billionaire overnight. But the money's not important. All money is for this guy is a real tool to get back to where he was, then to establish this new personality, which I'm going to go into, so that he can just systematically get back at the people who wronged him. Sounds good, huh? Watch this. We're going to talk about the three guys who are his so-called friends. So the three guys that betray Edmond Dantes, the main character in this book. One guy's name is Fernand Mondego. I'll just call him Fernand. The second guy is Danglars, and the third is Villefort. Now, if you've seen the movie, it's slightly off from the original, but let me tell you something, guys. The jealousy that these men have is seething to the point where you can actually hear conversations going on sitting at a table with three men whose eyes are darting at each other, trying to figure this out. This is a great book, by the way. Any of you guys are interested in a good book, this is a free book. You could download this book. It doesn't cost anything. This is fair use. It's private. It's in public domain. So Fernand Mondego, who is jealous of Dante's relationship with his girlfriend Mercedes. Now, if you guys remember, Mercedes was beautiful. They were in love. They're all kissing, talking about getting married and everything. And then all of a sudden, homeboy is gone, like vanished. And the person who set him up and put him in prison went after his wife, his girlfriend, and eventually she's told that he's dead, that he was a traitor to the country and all this stuff. So she doesn't believe it, but at some point, her hypergamous nature that says, "Here I am, Dantes is gone. This older, richer man is giving me an opportunity to not be in poverty and maybe feel better about losing the man that she loved." The second guy is Danglars, who envies Dante's wealth and social status. This came later in the book. You see, Danglars was a charlatan, and he made money off of every possible, you know, like shady business practice he could figure it out. And I'm going to go into these three stories. The third one is Villefort. Villefort is one of these guys that does bad and then tries very quickly to cover his tracks with all of his shenanigans. I believe this is one guy that actually had a child out of wedlock or something like that. And so back in these days, it was pretty serious. So these men, I'm going to read my notes. These men falsely accused Dantes of treason, leading to his imprisonment, which we remember the story, and loss of everything he holds dear. The betrayal sparks a deep-seated desire for revenge, who later becomes wealthy and mysterious Count of Monte Cristo, which, by the way, he made up, which is great. Throughout his newfound identity, Dantes cleverly manipulates those who wronged him, exposing their own dark secrets and orchestrating their downfall, which are clever. The book is so good. You are on the edge of your seat the whole time. The novel masterfully weaves a tale of jealousy, betrayal, and devastating consequences of allowing these emotions to consume us. Guys, remember that. Jealousy and envy are two emotions that have the ability to push our buttons. Why? Because men typically have two big Achilles heels, and one of them is money, romances, and finances. Those two things are why people do the shitty things they do to other people. I've been betrayed by good friends who I thought were friends. I've been betrayed by family members. Those motherfuckers need to have an an Edmond Dantes style fucking vengeance on what they did to me. But I'm not into that. All I know is that practicing stoics, their best revenge is not to be like the enemy. You don't respond. So let's talk about the three ways that the Count of Monte Cristo actually manipulated these three men who ruined his life. And so now he is back in the saddle, but he has power and he has money to no limit, period. And of course, this is in France and Versailles in the days that a lot of these things were totally possible to do. Okay, so what Edmond does, he basically does a kind of a campaign, if you will, against these three people, doing it in the character of the Count of Monte Cristo, because he's obviously not a count. You know what I mean? He is just a made-up man that came out of nowhere, and these people, not knowing that Edmond Dantes is still alive, expecting him to be dead, here comes this rich, handsome, powerful dude out of nowhere who's got money and has no problem spending it. So everybody's all focused on this Count of Monte Cristo. But he does something that people in modern day do. Cops do it, undercovers do it, all kinds of police do it. But this is a smart move because even back then he knew better. The first thing he did was gather information. He gathered information on the people who falsely accused him. And when he had gathered this information, he was now ready to strike. Because what is the most horrible punishment is public humiliation. Everybody knows that. So he does the first thing he does is he gathers information. He secretly investigates all of their past, all of their misdeeds, all of their scandals, all the things that people do. They think they're going to hide from it. And what Dante does is great. Okay. he creates false identities. As you know, he is already assuming the identity of a rich lord, if you will, almost a prince. And because of his money, he qualifies for that. So obviously, with money and power comes a great deal of jealousy. And one of the characters in this book is getting ready to get slaughtered financially. So he creates false identities in which he assumes various personas, such as the wealthy Abbey Busson and the mysterious Lord Windermere, to influence events and people. So this guy actually wore costumes and masks and makeup and wigs in order to create these false identities to get information about these three people who set him up. Basically, he's doing what's called social engineering. Social engineering is when somebody online is looking to take money or something from you. And they do that by pretending to be your friend, getting involved with you somehow, getting just tidbits of information as they go. And when they're ready to strike, they go about either stealing something from you. Maybe, like, for example, with me, I had to get the FBI involved when somebody stole my identity. And now the person who stole my identity, we have identified them. And now the FBI is going to go catch them and put them in prison. And I just can't wait for that because, I've been waiting for over a year to resolve an issue with somebody decided to steal something from me. And so I just sent it to the embassy, the U.S. embassy here. I'm like, here's a police report. Here's what happened. Here's this. And here's this fucking one guy that happens to be in Arlington, fucking Texas, who's going to go to fucking prison for a long time. And not because that has anything to do with the money. It's the fact that this motherfucker went out of his way to betray me and steal from me. So I'm going to do this man a service and put him behind bars, period, because I know everything about this fucking guy. And he fucked up. So now we've got this situation where Edmond Dantes, who is the Count of Monte Cristo, who has been betrayed by a good friend, who he thought was his good friends, all three of these guys are going down. This guy has set these three people up. And they're so stupid because their greed and their jealousy is the one Achilles heel they have. So what does he do? He creates false identities. He impersonates people just to have a little bit of intel on their shenanigans, because a lot of rich people will do a lot of rich people shenanigans. And so they'll get away with a lot of stuff because behind most fortunes is a crime, period. So when you see a lot of people, let's say mortgage brokers, let's say mid 2000s, mortgage brokers were making 30,000 to 60,000 US dollars a month doing fraudulent loans that got people up to their eyeballs in debt. We're talking about like Hooters waitresses with 5 houses and stuff. So those people behind these crimes, they are definitely being identified. And as the result, they have two ways of going about it, because at the end, financial ruin and then personal ruin. You see, the reputation of people in those days, they didn't have social media. So if a rumor got out about one person doing whatever, that rumor will stick. So, okay, and I am not going about the telling of this story from the aspect of a good person. I am not taking this story and saying do this. I'm not saying don't do this, but in the event that somebody puts your ass in prison illegally, and then you find out after the fact that they stole your wife, they stole your money, they killed your father, they did all these bad things. And this is the crazy part. Some people have done some bad shit to me and they think there's going to be no consequences as a result. Now it seems to me it's like, what I said is not about some money that people stole from me. It's the fact that they fucking lied to my face and they used me for what they did. And they tried to get away with it, but now it looks like those days are fucking over, because I went ahead and got the fucking FBI involved to track down my fucking enemies and put them in jail. How fucking wonderful of you to do that to me. So now you get to go to prison for good. Hopefully you'll die in prison. That'll be awesome, because then I don't have to think about you stupid fucks anymore. But that's what they did. And that's why Dantes is so upset at this story. And that's why I'm reading to you in the third person as if this happened to me. So the third the strategic generosity. This is such a cool move. You see, if a person like okay, I'll give the backstory behind this and how this manipulation trick has worked for Dante. It goes to, well, this part of the story is far later in the story. I'm sorry, and then as far as like the year that this book was written and the story of the the strategic generosity trick. Now, many of you guys may or may not know this, but there is one person who is on the $100 bill, but that person has never been a president, has never been anything other than a serial killer. Who am I talking about? Does anybody know who I'm talking about? It's not a president. He was on the $100 bill. Okay, Philadelphia writer. Anybody? Anybody? No, no, nobody. We'll come back to it. Okay. Strategic generosity basically is when you give something, excuse me, when you ask a enemy for something that is very prized to them and they actually feel the need to give it to you. So that is what strategic generosity is. He offers help or gifts to his enemies, gaining their trust and creating a sense of obligation. And that is exactly what happened to Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was at odds with this one person who was in charge of this side of the, I think it's Congress or House of Representatives. And he knew that this man had a very expensive book collection with some of the old writings from the old world. And he knew that he had this one particular book. And he went to that man. He said, I would like to borrow your book. And he's in shock that he had actually had the balls to ask him for one of the most valuable books that he owns. So when he gets it into his hands, he takes it home, puts it on a shelf, does not read it. And for 3 days, he has this man's valuable book in his possession. So there's this man, and he is not friends with Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin is a master manipulator, and this story, this part of the story right here, is exactly what he does. He tricks his enemies into giving him anything that he asks for because it's excessive. And he manipulates the strategy is to manipulate the enemy by giving the illusion that you have money to give them that they're going to try and steal from you. That's what this trick was. Manipulating relationships. Manipulating relationships. He cleverly plays on their emotions, fuel their jealousies and fears and rivalries. This guy went around in every possible different scenario that they could get his enemies roped off in, and he succeeded by doing that with gaining their trust, getting them to commit to something, and then at the end, yanking it out from under them. And that's pretty much what people do when they're trying to manipulate you. Orchestrating events. This is such a part of this. This is such a part of life, period, when it comes to people trying to manipulate you. Orchestrating events. He engineers situations that exposes their weaknesses, flaws, crimes leading to their downfall. And he orchestrates every event of 3 individuals so that he can come through at the last part and get them all. He exposes Villefort's hidden past, his illegitimate child. You guys don't realize this, that people did not have children with commoners back then. Wealthy people always with wealthy people. Common people, villagers, always with themselves. So Through clever manipulation, Dante exacts a calculated and satisfying revenge on those who wronged him, all the while maintaining his anonymity as the Count of Monte Cristo, which was a brilliant move. The second part is fueling Danglars' greed and ruining his reputation, his financial reputation. See, Danglars had a reputation of taking investments from people and paying out big dividends. Sound familiar? And that is what happens, except this time he gets a ton of people to invest. And then the Count of Monte Cristo says that he's going to invest a ton of money too. And then he sends in a patsy who gets information on this guy in that way that he could destroy him in the end. So Edmond Dantes, as the Count of Monte Cristo, ruins Danglars' financial reputation by exploiting his greed through a series of clever maneuvers. This is very good. First thing he does, he convinces this guy Danglars to invest. The Count creates a fake investment opportunity, promising unusually high returns, which of course is what they do, and convinces Danglars to invest fucking heavily. Two, he manipulates the market. I mean, could you just imagine if your enemy, you could not just tell him, talk to his face and say, look, you need to take your whole life savings and invest it into this egg farm or whatever. And that he goes and creates a market behind it, then creates a fake demand situation. Then he deepens the illusion even further. And what he does is brilliant. I'm going to read that 1 second. The Count secretly manipulates the market, causing Danglars' investments to appear successful at first, which is important, but eventually leading to a massive loss. Okay, so what he is doing at this point, he has now manipulated this man to believe that it's just easy money. And this guy is going to go in hard, put a lot of money in one spot, and this is what's going to happen. The Count also forges letters from a wealthy investor offering to buy Danglars' shares at an inflated price. And he's like, ooh, this is how they get you. If you're greedy and a scammer is trying to get something from you, he is going or she's going to use every bit of information they know about you to kind of like in a manipulative way, like a hypnotist would. So this is what he does. The Count forges letters from a wealthy investor, offers to buy Danglars' shares at an inflated price. Danglars, eager for the profit, sells his shares, but the buyer disappears, leaving him in significant losses. Bankruptcy. The Count orchestrates a series of financial setbacks leading to Danglars' bankruptcy. His reputation as a financier is ruined, and he is shunned by society. Basically, he has nothing left to lose. That guy has been ransacked. No one believes in him. No one trusts him. And he dicked over an innocent man. And that's why he is going to get barbecued in this story. The book is so good because it's so graphic. And when I say graphic, I mean all the tricks, all of the conversational, like just come out of nowhere. The book is, to me, one of the best books that has ever been written, period. All right, so let's get back to the book. And one of the things that the Count does, the Count orchestrates financial setbacks, leading to Danglars' bankruptcy. His reputation as a financier is ruined, and he's shunned by society. No one will talk to him. No one's going to invest in him. And what's worse is that his investors are going to go back to him and say, give my money back. Yeah, I think I want my money back, but he's running a Ponzi scheme whole time. So by exploring Danglars' insatiable greed, the Count of Monte Cristo ruins his financial reputation, causing him to lose everything he valued wealth, success, respect. This revenge is particularly satisfying for Dantes, as Danglars' greed was a primary motive for his betrayal. Like I said, the two things that motivate men to dick people over are romances and finances. So Edmond Dantes, as the Count of Monte Cristo, manipulates Ferdinand Mondego, his jealousy, and destroys his relationship with Mercedes, which, by the way, was with Edmond Dantes before he went to prison. This is Mercedes, his actual woman, and she knows it's him. Other people don't have a clue that it's him. But while he is in communication with Mercedes, they are communicating, indirectly, silently. Revealing Mercedes, okay, Edmond Dantes manipulates Ferdinand Mondego. His jealousy destroys his relationship with Mercedes. So this is a great move. Revealing Mercedes' past love for Edmond, the Count suddenly reminds Mercedes of her past for love for Edmond, rekindling his feelings, which is a bad move, and creating tension for her marriage to Fernand. Feeling Fernand's insecurity, the Count hints at Mercedes' lingering feeling for Edmond, making Fernando increasingly jealous and possessive. Creating opportunities for Mercedes and Edmond to meet, the Count orchestrates situations where Mercedes and Edmond encounter each other, reawaken their old connection. Don't do that, dude. Don't ever do that. I don't give a shit if she's innocent or not. Don't recycle no ex that's been with another dude. Exposing Fernand's infidelity. The Count reveals Ferdinand's own infidelity to Mercedes, further eroding trust in their relationship. You know what I'm saying, guys? No way. So Mercedes, growing unease as the truth about Edmond's innocence and Ferdinand's betrayal comes to life, Mercedes becomes increasingly uncomfortable with her marriage and her past choices. Now it's time for consequences because no accountability in this story. Mercedes, you know what I mean? She had the ability to not go with anybody, but her hypergamous nature says, I can't take care of myself without Edmond. And so the next best thing is this fucking guy. So Ferdinand violent outbursts when Fernand discovers Mercedes' lingering feelings for Edmond. This is a good trick. He lashes out violently, leading to a final confrontation. Mercedes' realization and departure. Mercedes realizes that her mistake in marrying Fernand and ultimately leaves him, recognizing her true love for Edmond. Sorry. By skillfully manipulating Fernand's jealousy and rekindling Mercedes' fell for him, the Count of Monte Cristo destroys the relationship between Ferdinand and Mercedes, exacting a poignant revenge for their past betrayal. In the end, this is the sickest part. In the end, Fernand, Mondego, Danglars, Villefort are humiliated real good. Fernand Mondego, his wife Mercedes leaves him after discovering his infidelity and realizing her true love for Edmond. 2. He is publicly exposed as a traitor and as a murderer. 3. He is forced to flee Paris, abandoning his title and his reputation. So, see what I'm saying? Sometimes the best revenge isn't physical at all. It's humiliating somebody. Public humiliation is the worst form of punishment anyway. Danglars, he is bankrupted and loses his entire fortune due to the court's manipulation, the count's manipulation. He is publicly shunned and ostracized by society. He is forced to live in exile, a shadow of his former self. Villefort, who is, by the way, probably, let's just see. His hidden past and crimes are publicly exposed, including the murder of his own father. Yeah, the murder of his own father, which is very graphic in the book. I'd really recommend it. His daughter Valentine dies after being poisoned by Villefort's own wife. He is driven mad by the revelation of his crimes and loss of his daughter, untimely dying in a state of insanity. Oh, see, this is not in the movie. You don't see that. In each case, the Count of Monte Cristo orchestrates their downfall, using their own weaknesses and crimes against them. Through his clever manipulation, he ensures that they are punished and humiliated, brings about a sense of justice and closure to the story. And if you're unaware, if you guys are not sure, oh boy, hold on a second. And so these are what betrayal really is. And I want to read this to you because this shit happened to me. And you fucks this who did this to me, if you're watching this, go fuck yourself because you're going to go to fucking jail. And I hope you do. So, betrayal is the art, the act of violating someone's trust or confidence. Sound familiar? Often resulting in harm or hurt of that person. And it may take many forms. So I was able to basically identify people who had done some fucked up shit to me, and then to the point where now I have to go against them in court. I have to go after them in court. I got to put one guy in jail for really fucking up. And unfortunately, that's where he belongs. So there are different forms of betrayal, and I'll read them all to you because these are all notes. So betrayal is the act of violating someone's trust, confidence, often resulting in harm, and it take many forms: deception, lying, hiding under the truth, misleading someone. Two, disloyalty, which is a lot of you guys. Abandoning or turning against someone who trusted you. That's fucked up. And you know what happened recently is like I was on a podcast and then the guy who runs the podcast had somebody else come on and then without skipping a beat starts attacking me because he doesn't know who the hell I am. And he's like, "Who's this guy? Who is this you? Huh? Like dumb, just dumb guys." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't believe nothing. Like, go to the class." And then the funny thing is, the fucked up thing is that the guy who's having the podcast like sided with this guy, and I'm like, I'm in your live feed like every day, and you're gonna betray me for some guy because this guy has like a store or something, and he like because he clips videos, makes fun of people, and then he gets people to sign up for his Machiavellian class. So because he made a couple of bucks while trying to roast me on another podcast, he gets all these people to sign up for his sales course, which is the fraud, by the way. And he, made automatic billing every month and all this shit. These are one of those YouTuber guys that takes money from people, and so he gives this guy commission. And the guy's like, "Well, I don't know the professor that good. He doesn't, he's a friend of a fucking somebody else." And I'm like, "Really, motherfucker? You just sold me out for $10. $10. It's all you're fucking good for." So I don't deal with those people. I'm not getting on any podcast that talks about anything that has to do with like politics. So forget all that. So the deception is lying, hiding, disloyalty, treachery is working against someone's interests or well-being. Like the ex-girlfriend that I had that actually fucked my lawyer, and she said, "I will fuck you, but you have to make sure that you fuck up his case against these people because I don't want anything good to happen." This is my ex-girlfriend doing this shit. And that was when treachery comes about. But she doesn't realize this, but she's the one who stole the Mercedes. Remember that? She stole the Mercedes and she stole the title to the land I bought. So now she's got double the IRS taxes to pay for what she stole from me because I was so smart and to do one of those 1040Ss or whatever with her. So when she went to the States, she's now sitting on a 400,000 US dollar tax bill. Thank you very much. Because that's what she did. She stole from me and that's what she stole. So that's what she's going to get taxed for. I'm never going to get that money back. So let the fucking IRS go after people who get money illegally and don't pay taxes on it. Because I fucking pay tax on it. When I got it, I paid taxes on it. And this girl decides to steal it from me. So, hey, why not? And that is treachery. The next part is infidelity, which we all know. And by the way, if one of you guys is still doing and practicing in this kind of behavior, I'm just going to tell you that you're a minority now. because most dudes don't want to do the wrong thing. And if you're not bettering your life at this point in your life, what are you really doing? That's so infidelity is cheating or being unfaithful to a romantic relationship. But the worst, though, I think anything is the breach of confidentiality. Nobody likes a person that can't keep a secret. Okay. No one likes a person who in Colombia would say has boca de shampoo, which means they talk about all this stuff. And a betrayal can be emotional, causing emotional pain or hurt, physical, resulting in physical harm or danger, financial, which is what these fuck sticks did to me, involving theft, fraud, financial exploitation. I know what this guy did. I know for a fact what this guy did. Fortunately, I had to hire some guys to go track this guy down to find out where the fuck he was. It wasn't hard to do. Took him about 30 seconds. Like, yeah, I got him. I got his address. Like, good, because that's where I'm going to send the fucking FBI. When I have all of the physical evidence, that's what I do. Sent it to him, the embassy, and then this fucking guy just disappears. So I can't wait for the fucking FBI to go catch you, asshole. You're out. You're fucking through. Okay. And that is why I believe it is so important to keep documentations on people. If you feel something is up, you know what I mean? Don't be gullible. I was gullible with my own fucking family. All right. I was too nice. Guys know that feeling? When you're too nice to somebody and they take advantage of you, that's the shit that happened to me. So I had the loss of trust, I had the emotional trauma, I had the damaged relationship, and I had self-doubt as a result of all these things that happen. And that makes a person question their own self-worth and their own judgment. So in the context of Monte Cristo, the type of betrayal involved is that which most of us experience, which is either romances or finances. And the notes I put here in the context of a Count of Monte Cristo, betrayal is the central theme. Betrayal is the central theme. As Edmond Dantes is betrayed by his friends and his acquaintances, leading him to imprisonment, later his quest for revenge. I hope that the people who understand that many people are not going to allow anything else to happen to me or to anybody else that I know. And here's why. Because the cost of revenge is very high. There are two ways to go about doing this. One modern way would be become successful to make your enemies. Yeah, don't even do that because that's stupid. It's like going to the high school reunion you had and you're all big and they're like, wow, you looking all big. Yeah, because so and so used to pick on me when I was in high school. So when they see so and so and they're all big, like, wow, yeah, you used to pick on me in high school. And then he's laughing. He's like, wow, you did all this for me. So you see manipulation and it's not manipulation, but revenge, if it isn't really followed up with consequence and something that is impossible to recover from, there's almost no point in engaging in it. So, as the Stoics say, the best revenge is no revenge at all, but rather don't be like your enemy. Meaning, don't be a bum, don't be a loser. Do these things that and just take you outside of that level of bullshit toxic stuff. Because you're gonna be betrayed by somebody. It might be a family member, which happened to me. Could be your best friends, could be your co-workers, which has all happened. Anything and everything bad that could fucking possibly happen to any foreigner in Mexico has happened to me. And it's next level shit. So how they do it, I don't know. All I can tell you is that there's no apologizing coming out of my mouth in the event that some bullshit that they pulled off ends them up in goddamn jail. Because that's where they belong. Three guys who betrayed this one man who was innocent. And now I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people involved in a conspiracy to steal $400,000 from me from land and, my car. Right? I'm like, you know what I mean? It's so ignorant and they think they got away with it. That's the thing. They think they got away with it. like that fuckstick in Arlington, Texas. You're fucking next. You're gonna go to jail and you're gonna have fucking IRS on your ass, you dummy. God, people are so dumb. I cannot believe how dumb they are. The fact they think they're gonna do this kind of shit, and it's for such a little amount of money. That's the thing that is so upsetting. It's like you're gonna ruin like your whole life and future. And man, and I know you got a kid that you need to support, and you got an ex-wife that you need to support, and yet you're gonna go and do this shit to me and expect nothing to fucking happen. I'm going to goddamn Arlington, Texas after they arrest this guy so that way I can beat the fuck out of him. He is going to get his ass beat so bad it'll be the worst 30 seconds of his fucking life. And then he's going to go to the good old big house if he's not there already. Because usually people who do bad shit like this guy did is usually in jail all the fucking time. Me and the Lord, we're just going to kind of speed up that process, if you will. So if you would like to understand betrayal a little bit better, remember something, that the loss of trust that you have with somebody, doesn't matter if it's a friend, family member, girlfriend, once the loss of trust, that means that there's no future, period. There's no recovering from loss of trust. You've had an argument with somebody who's been wrong, and you've said some things that you didn't mean, and then that person is going to hold that resentment because they remember that shit about you. They remember that one thing you did. So in the context of the Count of Monte Cristo, where he was actually innocent and he was set up by three friends based on greed, should be message to you. You need to watch out who your friends are, because once they see you starting to make money, once they see you starting to do good, they're going to talk about you behind your back. There's 100% certainty that. If you have a good program, if you have a good friendship, if you're offering a lot of good things, eventually what happens when you do good things for people, when they can do things for themselves, is it turns around with the resentment. I even got guys here that were with me for months, canceled. They like dropped out of the program, and I see them. They're drunk, smoking weed, doing whatever. Seeing them look like they fucking crawled out of some sewer early in the morning. And then, to make matters better, one guy that quit, he decided to go get in fist fights with kids from high school, and they go run in front of the academy thinking that all the firefighters here are going to go and beat this dude's ass. You look down and you're like, all these people are in high school. There's a grown man with a machete. And I'm like, first of all, kids, go attack him like this. Take the fucking machete away. But don't hurt him. Just take the machete away so he doesn't hurt anybody. He ends up cutting some kid, fucking trying to hold him down and stuff. But I still don't know the backstory of why these people were fighting to begin with, but I do know each one of them used to be friends and they betrayed each other, which is to be expected when you've got money or women involved. In this case, it was over a woman. Here's a guy who's 24 years old, 25 years old, fighting with a guy who's 17 with a machete. Talk about emotional, come from a fatherless home. Just everything that could be wrong with it. A young man is wrong with him. And then he's going to go do some emotional bullshit like this, which is not revenge. It just shows stupidity. So I hope you really enjoyed that, guys. I got to jump because I have a podcast I love to get on. It's Uncle Jackie. And if you guys did not see, he has a sports show and he might be talking about some wild stuff tonight. So why don't we jump in there and get after that? Anyway, I hope that you understand what I'm saying to you. I am not telling you to go and commit revenge on people. I'm telling you to quite the opposite. Do like the stoics say, that instead of taking your revenge out on that person, but instead be the opposite of what that person is. Because if that person is a dirtbag, they're going to close down shop eventually. You, however, have to maintain your bearings and so on. I know you want to delete this guy for stealing from you, but it isn't worth it because he is going to be a thief for the rest of his life. And he steals just like you might write insurance policies. He steals. That's his job. He's a thief. So you can't really, go into too much depth of that because I'm in a different country, and I definitely do not condone anybody stealing. That's the part that bothers me the most about living here is everybody just likes to steal. It's like a favorite outdoor activity. It's ridiculous. Like grown, normal people just, oh, there's a, what's that, a car charger sitting on a bench next to somebody and they pick it up and steal it. I'm like, wow, fucked up here. So anyway, that's all I have for right now. If you did not, I really want you could download this book for free. And it's called The Count of Monte Cristo. And you definitely want to read this book. You don't want to watch the movie. I mean, you could watch the movie, but it's going to be like, eh. Oh, man, the book had me glued to it. I could not keep my hands. I'm like, I'm reading. I mean, wait a minute, what happened there? I'm going back and I'm reading and reading and reading over again. So I really highly recommend you guys, if you're not reading, you need to try and read at least 18 minutes a day. All of us, for 18 minutes a day for, let's say, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Just read a little bit of something for 18 minutes. In a year, that's 100 hours. You are more efficient in that particular discipline than 95% of the world at that point. So if you, like, for example, I work with kids. I want kids to be really good at going up and down ladders without falling, without having any accidents. So I have them repeat and repeat and repeat and do it over and over and over again until they have it subconsciously there. What we have in society is a lot of weak men that were raised by single mothers that get emotional and don't look at logic. They look at emotion, how they feel. So I want you to reject this lifestyle, you guys. And remember something else is that you're not running away. You're not in exile if you're overseas. But on the contrary, we have basically, we have told the people in the U.S. who have treated us badly that we're no longer in this game with them. There's no more game to go with these people. There are no more games to be played. I'm like the perfect example of what the fuck you can and cannot do in life. Because if you're told one thing, you tell you can't do this, you can't do that. I'm an example for you that you actually can. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Let's talk about it. I'm the professor, and I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and I'm out. Yeah.